Live from Orlando, Florida, extracting the signal from the noise. It's theCUBE, covering Pentaho World 2015. Now your hosts, Dave Vellante and George Gilbert.
Hi everybody, we're back. This is theCUBE. We're live here at Pentaho World. This is day one of a two-day CUBE event. We're going to go wall-to-wall coverage. Kevin Eagleston is here. He's the Senior Vice President of Social Innovation at Hitachi. Kevin, welcome to theCUBE. So you do a lot of Twitter? Is that the deal?
So I am now tweeting, but I sort of asked to have it done.
You know, I looked you up on Twitter and I was like, wow,
I am actually
social graph.
Yes,
social innovation,
yes.
of course, Hitachi.
Let me just have a shout out to Michelle.
Yeah. So I love this story. I love the acquisition. When it first happened, first of all, I liked it because I thought it was a nice play for Hitachi Data Systems content, business. But now, having heard you today and starting to think about the amazing opportunity, $80 billion company, an industrial giant, the fit that Pentaho has. So, congratulations on picking up a gem.
Thanks
really
so much.
Amazing.
And yeah, we've gotten a lot of words of congratulations that you bought the right company.
Yeah,
that's how we feel.
So let's help our audience understand what social innovation at Hitachi is all about and your Internet of Things and big data vision.
Sure. So as you saw in my presentation, social innovation is our IoT and big data strategy. The longer story of that is that it really reflects the 105-year sort of motto that we live by at Hitachi, and that is that we've always wanted to take what we're really good at and solve big problems and make a difference in the world. And that's the social aspect or the societal aspect of what social innovation is all about. But now it reflects our IoT and big data strategy, and we think that delivering IoT solutions, solving big IoT problems is the best way to make a difference.
So people think, historically, Hitachi Data Systems, mainframes, storage, but Hitachi Consulting, you guys got server infrastructure, you've got obviously industrial aspects of your business, medical. Talk about that business and how it's the scope of the traditional HDS team is expanding.
Sure. So Hitachi historically has been operated like a conglomerate. So it's over 900 companies operating pretty independently, and HDS being one. And we've been around a long time, as you guys know. You've worked with us over 30 years. Independent, US-based, Silicon Valley-based company focused globally in the IT space. The Internet of Things has really brought us all together. What it's driving is, with us, kind of at the pointy end, especially Pentaho at the very pointy end of this new revolution of IoT means that this is the time for the industrial side and the IT, big data, analytics sides to all come together to bring solutions to market. So move from a pure product in a particular industry to a real solution to an IoT or big data problem.
So I'm very interested in the go-to-market. How do you see that playing out? You're probably still figuring it out, but I mean, Pentaho to me is like, I'm reminded of Napoleon Hill. A little lever can make a huge game-changing difference. And Pentaho, you talk about tip of the spear.
Yeah.
How do you plan to go to market with Pentaho and build solutions?
Sure, so Pentaho specifically, there are two paths. We're taking this huge sales force that HDS has, so 2,000 people globally in the field, plus the Japanese Hitachi sales force to grow Pentaho's organic business. So everything Pentaho does and has proven itself in the market to do, it's going to be a vast expansion. That's what we call synergy, our synergy play. And then embedding Pentaho in everything we do from a solution perspective. So you'll see Pentaho over time embedded in the solutions we bring to market.
Yeah, so how did the acquisition come about, right? Because when I saw it, I was like, that's interesting. And then I started to understand it a little bit better. But so take us back to
Sure. So it goes back a couple years, and like, we've done a lot of acquisitions, and our style of acquiring is let's date, and then let's decide if this makes sense, this relationship makes sense. And so we had a mutual interest in each other. we internally wanted to make an acquisition that did what Pentaho did for us, in terms of strategic direction into IoT and big data. We looked at over 100 companies, but as we were looking at over 100 companies, we started to build a relationship with Pentaho, because it was pretty clear that they stood out to us as a great match for us. So we put an OEM agreement in place so that we would start the process of embedding, and in the meantime get to know each other. There was simply no question, who the best acquisition was, and that was Pentaho.
So GE made a lot of noise about industrial internet. They put an investment in Pivotal, which I think they seem to be, on part of it, sort of backpedaling. Their idea sounds, at least superficially, like yours, where they were going to be drawing sensor data from all their equipment and in some sense adding a service capability back to it all, whether it's selling uptime for jet engines, or uptime for turbines, for power dams or whatever.
Yeah.
How is what you're doing different? And the choice of tools is very different that the two companies made.
Yeah. So
how does that reflect the two strategies?
Yeah, so they are two strategies, but they are very similar. We've actually have compared notes with GE, because GE is actually a great partner of Hitachi's. So we have a joint venture in the nuclear business. We do a lot of business on the HDS side with a couple of different parts of GE, and GE is a great Pentaho partner as well. So they embed Pentaho in a solution that they have. So what's different between the two companies is, besides the fact that it's an American or Japanese company, is that GE didn't have their own big IT operation, right? That had been sold off some time ago. In fact, I think Quentin has a history with that side of GE. We did. So GE made an investment in Pivotal and partners with a lot of companies, and we would expect that over time, because our goal in IoT is we just want to make that pie bigger, faster. And it's a very big pie, the IoT pie. We think a partnership with GE, in many companies will be some competition, no question about it. We think a partnership also is a good
Can we
play.
talk about the TAM a little bit?
Yeah.
You threw up some big numbers today. I think I saw one number, 7 trillion. Whoa,
Yeah.
That caught my attention. That was sort of the value creation. And then I think still 2 trillion was the market you're going after. Talk about the TAM, how you look at it.
Sure. So 7 trillion represents the entire IoT market according to IDC for 2020, and then we actually hired a consulting company to take a look at everything that we do industrially and match it to what that market looks like, and it's about a $2 trillion market. And the way we look at it though is maybe a little different. We're a commercial, publicly owned company that we need to drive returns to shareholders, so a $2 trillion TAM gets our attention and all. But we also look at that as that's an investment that people are making around the world in IoT solutions for which they expect they're going to get a return. So that return means that impact of IoT in the world and the impact that we can have is much greater than $2 trillion in terms of economic growth and standards of living and healthcare outcomes, more efficient transportation, so many ways to have a real impact, and that's the other way we look at that big TAM.
That's potentially conservative. A 7-to-2 ratio. I could see it being a lot bigger.
And it's a very long-term market, right? This isn't going to be one of those, up and down kind of things. This is decades.
Well, I wanted to ask you that. I saw a chart the other day, and it showed disruptions in the industry. It showed mainframe, and then mini, and then internet, PC, and then internet. And it showed IoT is lower than those curves. I said, I don't get it. Less disruptive? I talked to the person who did the chart, and he said, well, it's the guys who own the things that are going to evolve to dominate Internet of Things. So value creation, bigger than all of those. But in terms of disruption, it's the guys it's the GEs, the Hitachis who have the infrastructure in place that are going to profit from this. Does that make sense to you?
And not only profit, it does, and not only profit, but they're in the best position to actually drive the value for the clients, whether it's cities trying to become smart cities, or whether it's hospitals trying to deliver better outcomes, or it's other industrial sorts of plays. We're just in a unique position to be able to do that.
So that leads me to the ecosystem question. So talk about your ecosystem, how deliberate you will be around IoT. Obviously, you can't go it alone. takes more than a village, it takes a globe. Talk about your ecosystem strategy.
Yeah, so it's huge. It's going to take a huge ecosystem for all of us. And if you're not partnering to deliver value in this space, you can't be successful. You can't be selfish, you can't be a not invented here kind of a company. And so we're very, one of the reasons that you heard from me that we acquired Pentaho is because we're moving down the open source path. So you see increasingly in our software business becoming more and more open source and an as a service model as well. We incorporate a lot of open source technologies in our solutions and in our stack. That will be part of our future, no question about it. And while we're really good at a lot of things, we have tremendous scale in terms of innovation, technology, and people, all the 500 data scientists we have, we also recognize we're not good at everything. There are companies who are better at elements of a solution or a stack or however you want to look at it. So we're not at all proud about saying, okay, we're good at that, we will build that. We're going to partner for this, we'll OEM for that, we'll license for this.
So, just to understand the different strategies, just because GE's been somewhat vocal, or is somewhat, articulate, at least over here, about what their intentions are. So they might say, rather than sell a jet engine, we're going to sell, flying time.
Yeah.
If you were in the jet engine business and you're packaging up something that includes Pentaho and other things, what would you be selling?
Sure. So rather than jet engines, I'll tell you what we're doing in the train business, because that's a business that we're really big in. So we make bullet trains and all of that. So in the UK, we've won a series of train contracts, which traditionally in the old days would be locomotives and carriages and some services and all of that. That's transportation as a service now. So we have a 28-year contract in England and across the UK actually, that's purely SLA driven as transportation as a service, much like your example with jet engines. And so what that means is that we will, we're providing all the investment, the capital investment. We supply it as a service to SLA levels. We leverage big data and analytics to drive the normal efficiencies, better customer experience, and we're incented to be as good as possible at that.
Well, and then the other thing you said in your talk is you've digitized or begun that journey internally. And that's huge, right? When you think about IoT, you think about digitizing everything.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and sort of what you've learned through that process?
Sure. So, as we at HDS and Pentaho have gotten to know our colleagues around the different industrial elements or sections of Hitachi, what's clear is, one is that they're always known as, no matter what business it is, like you knew us in the mainframe or the storage business as being the best in class, like never break and reliable. That's been the case across all of our industrial solutions and products as well. And in order to do that, we've always had to be the most advanced. So we've sensorized everything that we do, and we collect data on everything that we do so that we can deliver great reliability, whether we're making a compressor or a wind turbine or a gas turbine or whatever it is. And so we've sensorized it, and then we turn that into valuable data to just make stuff run better, and now ultimately to provide new revenue models for our customers.
Kevin, you also said in your keynote, we want to be more like Pentaho. We want to look more like them. What did you mean by that? I mean, you talked about open source, but what did you really mean by that?
Yeah. What I meant by that is that, like I said before, we've been just an industrial conglomerate, so really good at widgets, a lot of different widgets. What Pentaho is good at is, blending data. They are the big data future and IoT future for everybody. That's why all of these customers use and embed Pentaho in what they do, and they're open source, and they're fresh and young and new to the industry. All of that. If we were to suck them in and try to make Pentaho look like us, they'd die, right? They would just sort of dissipate, and we'd lose all the power of that. What all of our Hitachi colleagues and us at HDS see in Pentaho is, this is the direction of the universe. This is where business is going, where IT and industry is going. They've got a model, whether it's subscription-based, whether it's all the things they do technologically, and open source. Everything that they do, that's what we want to be, and they figured out how to do it, and they've made money doing it.
I've followed Hitachi, had a relationship with them for well over 20 years, 20, 25 years. Been to Japan a bunch of times, been to Odawara a bunch. It was always cloudy, could never see Mount Fuji. But it was always a company that thought for the long term. So I want to ask you, this week we saw an acquisition or announced Dell EMC. You've seen companies like Informix go private, VMC, Dell went private, so that they could take a longer term view.
Right.
As somebody who's been in that business competing against EMC for all these years, you guys must be thinking, is this really how it ends? What does it say about the industry that we're in generally and Hitachi's strategy specifically?
Yeah, well, having worked at, in other companies that were publicly held, American headquartered companies, we're very different. Even though we're publicly held, we're traded on the Tokyo Stock Exchange and all, we're still, the Japanese long-term business culture, permeates everything that we do. So I've always felt as though it's much more like working for a private company. We're certainly driven to produce, return to our investors, all of that. But the attitude is different. There's not that, last 2 weeks of a quarter desperation to get to an earnings per share number and do unnatural things that are good for the short term and horrible for the long term. We really have worked very much like that as Hitachi and as a subsidiary of Hitachi's. So I think that we've already, we have the benefit of that.
Well,
that sort of
we're super excited for the road ahead. We're out of time, but I'll give you the last word, Kevin. So thinking about sort of the bumper sticker on this event and as a launch pad for the future of social innovation. What's the tagline? What's the bumper sticker?
Well, I'm going to go back to how we look at the Internet of Things, and this is what the Pentaho acquisition was all about, and that is that we want to be a dominant player in the Internet of Things space, and specifically in the Internet of Things that matter, where we can make a big difference. That's what it's all about.
Awesome,
for us.
huge opportunity for value creation, and it's not just about, as you said before, the profit from the vendor, it's about the value that you're creating downstream. So, as I say, we're super excited. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE, and thanks for having us here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. It's really fun to have you guys here. You've really spiced it up.
Yeah, it's really our pleasure. All right, keep right there, everybody. We'll be back to wrap. We're live here at Pentaho World 2015. This is theCUBE. Right back.